everything's fine because there's merch in the store. Yeah, merch in the store. We're all stuck inside and we miss the outdoors. Wait, don't think about that. Stop thinking about that. I mean, what? I miss human touch. Merch in the store, new merch in the store.
Oh, no. Not this time, Pegasus. You will not beat me to this one. This is exactly the kind of content that your channel thrives off of. I know that for a fact. You have been my greatest anime rival since I started YouTube, and I will not let you beat me to the punch on another topic. You got me on Pokemon, I'm not gonna lie, but that video was processing since 1 a.m. or so. So I blame Susan for that. But this one's all hotbox, baby. This is all mine. Welcome back to the channel, new and returning, young and old. Really just everyone but Jake Paul. Jake Paul cannot come on the hotbox. I don't care how many Louis Vuitton robes he buys me, he is not setting foot near me. But the point is, you're not Jake Paul, so I'm very happy to have you here. And by the way, if you are new here, why not subscribe? It's free, it just takes a second, and it helps out the channel way more than you know. Thank you. And yes, why am I talking about YouTube's biggest lolcow? Well, what can I say? I'm a commentary channel. My feed felt naked without a Jake Paul video in there to spice it up, so consider this my initiation into the little soiree that is the commentary genre. Please get the clicks, please get the clicks, please get the clicks. Man. But why am I talking about Jake Paul? Is it for his scam education course? Is it for his quarantine parties? Well, yes and no. An interview from the Daily Beast stated that, quote, Jake Paul believes that the current world situation is a hoax and that 98% of news is fake. I just love the little subheading in conversation. Someone had to sit down with this skin bag and try to have some semblance of a discourse with him, and I can only imagine the amount of Xanax that it took to get over that. Marlo Stern taking one for the team, let's go. I'll read you a little bit of the opening of the article before we get into the meat. Quote, it's everyday bro with that Disney Channel flow. With those 8 unmistakable words, I was thrust into the chaotic world of Jake Paul. Down the rabbit hole I went. A native of Westlake, Ohio, Paul is the younger brother by 2 years of Logan Paul, who is perhaps best known for a grotesque stunt wherein he filmed a body in Aokigahara, Japan's haunted forest, and posted it to YouTube. Paul was known for amassing millions of followers on Vine via viral stunts before bringing his talents to YouTube, where over 20 million people tune into his antics, including an additional 11.8 million on TikTok. But in the last few years, Paul's name has been synonymous with controversy. First came the neighbors in his Los Angeles enclave who contemplated filing a class action lawsuit against him over the pranks, ragers, and other incredibly loud shenanigans at his mansion. Shortly thereafter, Disney parted way with Paul. Then TMZ ran a video of Paul dropping the N-word in a freestyle rap. In 2020 alone, he's been embroiled in a strange hotel altercation with Zayn Malik in Las Vegas, was accused of partaking in a mall riot in Scottsdale during the George Floyd protests for Black Lives. He had the FBI raid his home and confiscate weapons as part of an investigation, and drew widespread condemnation, including by the mayor, for throwing a massive maskless party at his Calabasas mansion in July. He has also become a highly in-demand boxer, TKOing fellow influencers Deji and Anisin Gibb, and this Saturday, November 28th, squaring off against former NBA star Nate Robinson on the undercard of a Mike Tyson vs. Roy Jones Jr. showdown. So basically the article reads like your classic back and forth of an interview. He asks him a few questions, gets some stock answers like, why did you get into boxing? Paul says, I grew up playing all sports, football, basketball, and wrestling. When I got older, YouTubers love to talk to each other. So when that started happening, we were like, you know what, let's put some gloves on. For me, it made perfect sense because I make big money. Oops, sorry, I deviated from the script a little bit. He's asked, is KSI your next opponent? Paul says, he's ducking me. He's afraid to fight me. It's apparent. So there's other opponents and bigger names than him that want to fight me. And then he breaks into some of his controversy. They ask him about the TMZ video. He says, I wouldn't like to comment on that. He asked him about his presence at the protest. Paul says, I was merely a reporter simply, like you are in this call, wanting to capture, document, and record what was happening. I don't think I should have been there, but I'm a content creator, and at the time I was like, damn, these people are going ape. This is some great content. I want to show this to the world. You only think of content in those protests? You don't think about the message behind it? Are you kidding me? He asks him about the FBI raid. Paul says, I'm not able to comment on that. Paul also asks him, have you ever had the FBI watching you? The reporter responds, I can't say that I have. Are they watching you right now? Paul says, I'm not sure, man. When asked if that makes him paranoid, Paul says, "Nope, not at all. When you're innocent, it feels good, and if they are, they're probably listening to this call, so what's up, FBI?" He then asks him about the maskless party, and Paul says, "I think it's time for us to open up. Obviously, it's a controversial subject, but it's time for our nation to open up and go back to normal." The reporter asks, "You really think that?" 100%, says Paul. "I think the disease is a hoax." I can almost hear the reporter's double take, saying, "You think the disease is a hoax. It's been responsible for taking the lives of 260,000 people so far." Paul, yeah, so has the flu." Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Wait, no, we're gonna grab those statistics right now. Oh my god. The flu has only had 62,000 fatal cases. The virus has taken over 200,000 more than that. The reporter even quotes this. He says, "The flu takes about 20,000 and 70,000 people a year, and we have a mass-produced vaccine for it." Paul says, "Don't we have a vaccine for the virus?" Oh my god. You got me sounding like an LA bro. Shut the fuck up, Paul. So the reporter asks, "I want you to talk about why you think it's a hoax." Paul says, "I don't have to elaborate." He asks again, "You don't want to elaborate on that?" Paul, deep sigh, "No." The reporter says, "There are all these negative reports in the media about you, and I'm wondering how you feel about the coverage you've received." Paul says, "I think the media will paint people however they want that person to be painted. For example, on this call, you've only asked me about my controversies. You haven't asked about the millions of dollars I've raised for kids, all the Make-A-Wishes I've done, and the kids I've inspired to chase their dreams. Behind a paywall, that is." Up! The reporter parries it real quick. I'm gonna give you boxing terms, because f*** it. Saying, "I've only asked you about these controversies in the last 6 minutes of this interview. We spent the first 10 minutes discussing your boxing skills. Do you think these things should be off limits then?" And Paul responds, "No, I think it's like a typical reporter trying to probe an answer out of someone to get a viral article." Well, I mean, you gave it to him. What can you say, Jake? So the reporter asks, "If I wanted to learn more about you, then I wouldn't ask about the incidents?" Jake says, "Correct." The reporter, "Why?" Paul says, "Those incidents have nothing to do with my character." Your actions are literally a reflection of your character. Come on now. He doubles back to asking about the world situation. And Paul says, "I think if you're young, healthy, and don't have any health issues, nothing should be different. People are missing out on scholarships, restaurants, even this boxing match. It doesn't add up." Are you talking about yourself? Or what? So the reporter counteracts it with, "We have young people getting this disease, getting hospitalized, and overwhelming the healthcare system. So wouldn't the best thing be for things to shut down?" And Paul responds, I don't know, I think that's above my pay grade." Boy, with the millions you make, it's hard to get above that pay grade, let me tell you something. Paul goes on to add, "I don't think we know who the health professionals really are. People like yourself or people who go on Twitter and read articles all day. 98% of news is fake. So how do we know what's actually real and what we're actually supposed to do?" Well, I don't know. The numbers do not lie. Jake Paul also adds, "Medical professionals have said that masks do absolutely nothing to prevent the spread." The reporter responds, "They have not said that in quite some time." Paul says, yes they have, "You're arrogant, you're very arrogant for saying that they haven't said that." The reporter responds, "I think you're referring to a recent Danish study," and Paul cuts him off with, "No, I'm not. I'm referring to dozens and dozens of my medical friends who say masks do absolutely nothing." The reporter retorts, "Oh, come on, that's not true though. What doctors are saying this? I'm not saying it's true or not, and I'm not here to have a debate with you about it. I'm just telling you what I've been told. You're a reporter, you want clickbait, and you want answers, so you want everything to be black or white, when it's in fact not that. So that's where you need to open up your mind, as someone who controls the media and influences a lot of what people read and say and breathe and do." The reporter retorts, "Well, you influence what a lot of people say and breathe and do too, probably more than I do." Paul responds, "No, definitely more than you do. I've never even heard of you." The reporter responds, "Right, so you have a responsibility to your followers. And we're just having a conversation here. You've accused me of trying to come up with clickbait and a bunch of other stuff, but we're just talking about your thoughts on things." And then he drops a word in here I ain't never heard. It ain't even a word, I just looked it up. But Paul says, "That's what your fanatical reporter brain tells you. But you know the truth of that. You know what I'm saying? You're thriving off of this." The reporter responds, "I'm thriving off of this?" Paul, "Yeah, you love it. You're having the best day ever right now because of this interview." The reporter closes it with, "Oh, I don't know about that." You might not be having a good day, buddy, but I'm having a field day with this one. Good lord. I cannot imagine the headache before and certainly after this whole conversation. Listen, Jake, the world's built out of opinions, alright? Naturally, there are going to be some clashing ones, and I understand if you want to listen to quote-unquote alternative ones. But the problem is when there's loads of evidence stacked against those quote-unquote alternative viewpoints, you have to start re-evaluating your morals, right? But the point still remains, right? There are people with a fear of everything being taken away from them in the middle of this situation. And Jake Paul still has the audacity to deny the severity of it. It blows my mind. It's disgusting. Oh well, I guess at the end of it, get good, Jake Paul. Don't let your guard down in that fight. Or, actually maybe you should. Maybe enough blows to the head will actually make you think about your actions. Then again, I shouldn't say think, because as we all know, cavemen are not capable of complex thought. But you know what you could think about doing? How about liking the video if you enjoyed the coverage? And subscribing to stay tuned for more, because it really does help out the channel a lot. Join the Discord server if you want to drop ideas or scream into the void, either one. And go ahead and check out the merch. All the designs are made by yours truly, and I'm so excited to get to share them with you. And I believe if you order before the second week of December, they'll get to you in time for Christmas. So, keep an eye out. Whenever you're watching this, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and an even better tomorrow. I love you. And before you say it back, look in the mirror and say it to yourself. I will see you in the next episode of whatever I make. And until then, bye!